There we go.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's better.
All right, better angle.
Okay, so it was so great when...
All right.
All right, so we're a little overdue on this one.
I'm gonna be relatively quiet because I'm the Tom Holland of this review section.
I gave him a choice when he was the Mark Ruffalo or the Tom Holland of the group. He went with Tom Holland.
I'm the Tom Holland.
I get the Tom Holland reference, but not the Mark Ruffalo.
It's because both are the worst leakers in the Marvel.
Oh, Ruffalo does it
are the
too?
Marvel cast.
Yeah.
Ruffalo accidentally streamed like the first 30 minutes of Thor Ragnarok in a screening.
How do you accidentally stream 30 minutes?
Like, he had his phone on, he was doing like a live stream right for the movie played, then he put it in his pocket, forgot to turn it off, and apparently like somebody like ran at him in the theater like, turn off your fucking phone.
Wow. Wow, man. Good job.
So I'm not that. I'm just.
They're both charming enough.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, they are.
I'm more the Tom Holland. So like,
All right,
I'm
yeah.
not
Mark Ruffalo even
much.
accidentally spoiled this movie during
Oh,
the
boy.
interview, but he didn't know he was spoiling it because it was because they gave him dummy scripts, so I thought
Oh.
they just made the scene up.
Well, that's fun.
They wouldn't even tell Tom Holland who he was acting against.
No,
And-
I know.
And
They were
like
talking
Infinity
about
War,
that.
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we were talking about Endgame. We're gonna do this in two sections. This first section is gonna be non-spoilers. It's gonna be another video after this. It's gonna be all spoilers because I can't not talk about.
We need to discuss it.
There's a
need
lot
to
of shit to
discuss
talk
it.
about. So we're just gonna be in two sides of this. And it's been almost a week. At this point, most of you have probably
Yeah.
already seen it.
Well, I mean, I actually know a lot of people who haven't, so...
Yeah, so we're still gonna be careful not to be assholes, but the videos will be very clearly labeled.
So I think it would be helpful to just kind of give a quick just
Overview.
primer of how each of us feels about the MCU up to this point, because different people like very different things about the MCU.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's worth
That's
like,
fair. No, like
jumping in just so they can know what perspectives we're coming from.
Okay, so that means I can spoil Infinity War, right?
Well, yeah.
if you're not going to review about Endgame, I kind of feel like you've seen Infinity War.
Batman dies.
Fuck! Batman's in it. That's a spoiler right there.
No, but yeah, I guess, how do you want to start?
Let's see. So let's see. The most recent movie prior to that was Captain Marvel, right? And
Yeah.
then so, I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed all of the MCU. I sort of liked that it was sort of building up to this story with the Infinity Gauntlet and everything, and
Yeah.
then I half expected the ending from Infinity War to happen, but then it happened, and that sort of changed my life. But then again, so did this movie, so who knows? Yeah.
Like, which ones were your favorites and which ones were your least favorites, did you say?
I liked the first Guardians a lot. And then I also think the most forgettable one is Thor 2. But, people can disagree with me. Apparently it wasn't so forgettable. I don't know.
Yeah, for exactly the reasons I liked it, which I
Yeah.
love. So, anyway.
You and I have talked quite a bit
About what?
about our differences of opinions as far as the MCU goes.
I'm not here to argue.
No. I'm prefacing.
Yeah, okay, all right.
We're all here in celebration. We're not here to argue or bicker.
Yes, I know.
There's gonna be a whole. I'm prefacing. Not
All right,
prefacing.
Mom, what were your favorite movies?
Okay. I don't like that tone, son.
Oh, I did like Spider-Man too. I really love Spider-Man.
Sorry,
All right.
Howard.
No, it's okay.
Least favorites were Thor 2.
I would say Thor 2 was my least favorite for sure. And then that singular Incredible Hulk movie.
I kind of have a soft spot for it. I know it's not great, but for what it was, I thought it was fine.
but it's also the reason that I know Pro ZD, and it's so like, oh, I am like Hulk, but bad guy. I am Abomination.
I mean, you're not wrong. Incredible Hulk's one of those movies where it's just like, it's better than the Ang Lee one.
It's just like there.
Yeah, And it's like, that being said, keep in mind, I saw the movie when I was a kid, and my only like Hulk movie I had at that point was the Ang Lee version, which sucks balls.
See, the funniest part about this is that I was at a party last month where there were two people. I was good friends with one of them, but I kind of knew both of them. And there were two people. I was just mixing drinks for people because everyone liked the drink I mixed, and suddenly I had to make 8 of them. But there were two guys behind me, and they launched into literally a 3-hour conversation about the MCU.
Damn.
And its merits, and like what movies counted versus which ones didn't. And there was a good 20 to 30 minutes just about the Incredible Hulk.
Damn.
And whether or not, like, and how, like, basically one of them was basically of the opinion that it's like episode 1 for Star Wars. Like, largely, it's not
that bad.
It's maybe a 4 out of 10. It's not that good of a movie.
It's been a long time since I watched, man. It's gonna come. I honestly all I want from Hulk movies. I just want to see Hulk punch something, and I got that.
Edward Norton in a completely forgettable role. Do you know what it takes to make Edward Norton forgettable? He's a great actor.
I don't know. I saw What's the Sausage Party.
I don't know.
He's not technically in that. It's just his voice, and that's not his fault. That's Seth Rogen's fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the overall schema of the MCU, for me it starts with Iron Man. Like, Incredible Hulk barely counts, especially because they got rid of Edward Norton.
Yeah.
So if you're starting with Ruffalo Hulk, then like that's
what was that?
Yeah.
I thought they got rid of Edward Norton because he was an asshole or something.
Yes.
I mean, I know he's an asshole to work with.
Essentially,
Has-
Maybe he didn't like being given such a shitty fucking movie to work with.
basically what happened was when Edward
can
Norton
see
took
that.
on the Incredible Hulk movie, he basically wrote a bunch of scenes they ended up cutting, and then he got pissed about it, and then I guess he was paying ass to work with, and they didn't want him back.
Well, I honestly,
Mark Ruffalo's better.
I probably would have done the same thing if I'd been given that movie.
Yeah, and like,
Also, Ruffalo has not had to carry a whole movie on his own yet.
true.
So,
yeah. Well, he might. Well, depends if they ever get the rights back from Paramount. But
We'll see. Anyway, but yeah. So you liked the Hulk, apparently.
I didn't say I love it. I think it's fine.
It's fine.
I think
Okay.
it's fine. Like I
Is there worse than the Hulk in
yes,
the MCU?
in my opinion.
Which
yes.
one?
What?
I gotta go with Howard. I think Thor 2 sucks.
Everyone hates on Thor 2, man.
Okay, right?
Everyone hates on
The
Thor
Tom
2.
Holland's, not Tom Holland. The Loki scenes are good, but that's really about it.
It's the only Thor movie that has like actual character progression.
You
and
have
character arcs.
Doctor who could not give less of a shit for being there.
Doctor Who?
Yeah, Christopher Eccleston. He plays the Dark Elf.
Yeah, he
Oh,
does.
yeah, okay, so. No, see, that's my problem. Everyone talks about, like, the villain was forgettable. The movie's not about the fucking villain.
Well, the villain is forgettable. The movie itself, as much as it was trying to progress things, just wasn't that interesting.
You know what
Natalie
other-
Portman was incredibly forgettable.
You know what other movie had a forgettable villain? Guardians 1, because it's all about the characters, and
I'm
it's
not even
great.
talking about. Well, Guardians 1 had a lot of other stuff going on for it too.
But the villain sucked.
It did. I'm agreeing with that. But
And Lee Pace is a great actor.
I'm
And
not.
it's-
I'm not even focused on the villain of Thor 2. This is starting a weird debate about Thor 2.
Yeah, because I actually, it's like, I like it better than
Even
Thor
then,
1.
like I don't hate
Thor 1 is not good.
I don't hate
yeah,
Thor
you're
2.
right. Thor
I was
1
like,
is also
I
not
don't
that
even
great.
hate. I actually like Thor 1.
Thor 1 is garbage.
Okay,
Thor 1
agree,
is
disagree.
like a basic ass fucking like intro story
So you
with
wanna
some
talk about-
bland fucking action scenes in there and a soundtrack that is literally canned loops. I can show you where they come from. I hate it.
So you want to talk about Tom Hiddleston being like the savior of Thor 2? I think he's the savior of Thor 1, honestly. I think he had the best scenes in that film.
He had the best scenes in it, but he didn't get to interact with Thor.
Wasn't Thor 1 the romantic comedy? I might be confused.
Kinda, yeah.
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 That was the problem with Thor 2, is like it really doubles down the whole comedy thing. It's just not funny.
But it's
Darcy can fuck off.
Darcy?
Meow, that one.
I like her.
I do not.
I don't mind her. She's just like this weird character, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
But anyway, so yeah, Thor
No
2
bickering,
aside.
kids. Thor 2 is way better than fucking Incredible Hulk.
I mean,
At least it had character moments.
I haven't watched them in fucking years.
This video will be 3 parts. Part 1 is us bickering about the MCU up to this point. Part 2 is going to be Endgame review without spoilers.
Anyway, yeah, enough about Thor 2. Moving on.
Okay, so you think Thor 2 is worse than the Incredible Hulk somehow. So what are your favorite Marvel movies, Michael?
My favorite, honestly, is Guardians Volume 2.
All right.
I've watched that one a million times. Every time I watch it, it gets a little better.
Here's the thing. I wanna make an exception here because I feel like everyone can agree that the Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok were like exceptionally entertaining and weird and colorful and just they're different from the rest of the MCU in a way that sets them apart.
Yeah, because they're in space.
That and like they're just really fucking colorful and fun.
They're allowed to kind of do whatever they want with it because it is so outlandish and it's in space. You can do whatever the hell you want in space.
You have a talking raccoon.
Yeah. So let's put those outside of the normal spectrum of MCU movies because I think everyone just loves those 3.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everything else though is.
I'd actually be surprised if people hate Thor 3, but
I have my problems with it in the Thor.
It's not a perfect film.
Well, I love the movie, but my issue with it is that it's completely tonally dissonant from the first 2 Thor movies. It's not the conclusion of the trilogy that I wanted.
To me, I think that actually works in the movie's favor because at that point, like for one, at that point they were really wasting
I know why they did it, and it's a fun movie. But as someone who actually enjoyed what they set up in Thor 2, I kind of wanted to see where they were going to take it with like a 3rd Thor movie that really explored the things that they set up in the first 2. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. They just said, let's kill all of the characters.
Okay, I will admit I didn't like that part.
Because no one cares about them. I cared about them. I like the squad. I like the conflict between them. I like the relationships they were building. Yeah. And I really wanted to see what would happen with those friendships, and I wanted to see them tested, and, you know, what would happen with them in the 3rd movie. And the 3rd movie comes out, and none of them gets a word. Like, they literally just get killed in one stroke.
Well,
and
we
it's
know
like,
what happens to one of them. He turns into Shazam. It's great.
But that's my whole point about it, though. Like, it's...
Hey, if Zachary Levi didn't die in Thor Ragnarok, he would not be in Shazam.
We had this conversation.
Yeah, we did.
And we already agreed that he would have been, because Thor 3 would not have been, like, a long enough production to stop him from being in Shazam. So... But regardless, I feel like it wasn't the conclusion of the same trilogy. I feel like it was just like, we're just gonna retcon shit and move on to some other fun stuff. And I could see why they did it, but in my heart, I still kind of wanted to see that Thor 3, and I'm not going to.
Fair enough.
So, whatever. Anyway, so those 3 movies, Guardians 1 and 2 and Thor Ragnarok are kind of safe. Out of the rest of the Marvel movies, because those are all the ones that are kind of really similar, because they have the same hero's journey arc.
Yes and no. I would argue Volume 2 did a lot more than just have a traditional hero's arc, had a lot to say about parentage and growing up.
I'm saying that it's the exception because it does more than
okay.
that.
Sorry. I misunderstood. My bad.
Yeah. I'm saying the rest of them have the same hero's arc
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah, I hear.
all of them. Like, whether you're talking about Ant-Man or Doctor Strange or Homecoming or Captain America or Iron Man, like, or Thor, like, 1 or 2, all of them pretty much have the same basic story arc. So, out of the way that each of those pulled that off differently, which ones did you like? Which ones did you not?
I will say that I really enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp, and a lot of people hate that movie for some reason. But
I think it's fun.
I like the fact that we finally get an antagonist that's not a villain, and you know, like the Ghost, right?
Yeah.
And she has stakes, but they're not, and they are conflicting with our protagonist, but they're not. But it's not like I'm like quantum girl, but evil.
Would you say that her stakes are well done?
Ouch. Anyway, so
I'm a nightmare to date when it comes to puns.
It's okay.
Here we go. Strap in, guys.
But for that reason, that's why I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp, because it's
fun.
It
did well in that sense.
Yeah, it did really well in having a story where everyone has stakes, but not necessarily everyone is right.
Yeah.
Honestly, Ant-Man and the Wasp is one of those films where it does feel like a live-action version of those old Looney Tunes cartoons. Everyone's trying to get the thing.
Dude, when the first half of the movie, I was like, but the second half, I had a lot of fun.
It just turns like one giant
Dude,
Looney
that
Tunes
giant
chase
car
scene.
chase
It's
was
great.
ridiculous. Like the Pez dispenser, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so.
Okay, so I'd say Guardians Volume 2 and Black Panther. I would say my two, those are the best ones they've done.
All right.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Because the same thing with Black Panther. There's a lot more going on than just this basic heroish journey. It has a lot to say about, today's culture and about different ideas and, things that I don't feel qualified to fully talk about.
Yeah, and the morality in it is very interesting.
Yeah, isolation versus expansion and stuff like that. I was there's very interesting discussions in that film. I think there's a lot of futuresque, what's the terminology for it? I don't remember. But anyway, basically, it's more just plays up the idea of an African nation that's presented as stronger than everyone else, which is kind of rare in Hollywood.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's part of why it was such a big moment of representation for a lot of black people.
It was, it still is, and it's still a really
and it made buttloads of money, so now no executive Hollywood can be like, black people don't buy tickets. You can finally get an audience for that.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing. That's also why I don't have a problem with the whole idea of pushing films that are blatantly pandering to women and stuff, because it's an underfed audience, because Hollywood likes catering to the traditional strong male hero kind of trope. So let's go with it.
Sorry, I got distracted. I look up
every time
Cinematic Universe movies just to make sure I didn't forget any, and then Venom shows
pops up.
and I'm like, fuck you.
Does Venom count?
No.
Okay.
No, Venom doesn't count for anything.
Fuck you.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are fine. As far as ones I did not like the least, I would say Iron Man 2. It's not bad. It's just crowded.
I don't remember anything about Iron Man 2.
It's the one with the guy with the whips.
I know he was in there, but I forgot what was the story? What was the stakes? What was his growth?
To be fair, it was almost 10 years ago. So
it's not bad, but it's definitely that one was the one I think had the weakest foundation, because it was definitely a setting up future movies movie.
Yeah.
Rather than staying on its own, and those are usually the ones in the MCU that suffer the most.
Yeah, I feel like that happened a lot more back in the day too.
It did, not nearly as much now.
Like,
I think somebody I think someone put it best, where it's like the trick of the MCU really isn't that it builds this big expansive universe and you have to see all the movies to understand what's going on. It's that it makes you think that you have to see the other movies to understand what's going on, where realistically you can watch any of them on their own and be fine.
Yeah, and I think they do a pretty good job of that. There's just little Easter eggs that make you appreciate it more, which comes into play in Endgame.
Endgame is definitely when you have to at least have some basic knowledge of everything.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get more into that.
So I took my dog to the dog park and we were talking about Endgame, and
you talk about Endgame with your dog?
No, with other.
He's a very good film critic, actually.
Yeah, the dog is so good.
Watches every movie with me.
Well, it's just, if he's belly up, he hates it.
Yeah.
He's really judgy about it, too. It's like, I like The Incredible Hulk.
really pretentious. He really loves French New Wave
Anyway,
cinema.
so I was talking to other pet parents at the dog park, and the question came up, what's the minimum number of movies you have to watch to understand what's going to happen in Endgame? And I said, including Infinity War.
Let's be careful with what you're about to say now.
So I would say, and I was like, well, you have to watch Iron Man, or you have to watch the first Avengers movie.
Pretty much, sure. If you watch just the Avengers movies, you can honestly get this one probably.
Well, the Avengers movies and then the main trilogies.
Yeah.
Because you have the Thor trilogy, you have the Iron Man trilogy.
But he only wanted to see 3 movies, and then I was like, oh.
Fuck that.
And I was like, oh man, I don't know.
So, I only want to read a 1/7 of the book before reading the sequel. No, you're not going to do that.
So, I would say the Avengers movies and Thor Ragnarok. I would say the ones you really need to see.
Yeah, that's debatable, but okay, so I have a different take on the MCU.
Yeah, I've seen your Facebook posts.
I don't really. I'm really bored by a lot of the traditional story arcs and stuff that happen, which is why Thor 1 was so bland to me. And also I'm kind of sensitive to soundtracks and stuff, because some of the soundtracks on these movies are fucking awful. Like they have no effort put into them. They literally just made them using computer loops, and I can tell because I have those programs. But sometimes for me, it's not so much about whether a movie is fun, rather than it be interesting and well executed. So, of course, the Guardians movies and Thor 3 are kind of a given for me in terms of being a good time. And Guardians 2 kind of pulls off a lot of complex themes in a way that makes you almost not notice, but manages to still handle them very deftly. It has subtleties to it that you don't really notice until you go back and pay attention to what the different characters are going through. But my favorite movies were kind of the one-shots. Like, I really enjoyed Ant-Man, because I love Edgar Wright, and the fact that him and Adam McKay wrote the script. Like, there was a lot of that humor still left in there. And I really enjoyed Doctor Strange.
Ooh, I did like Doctor Strange.
I had a fucking blast with it, and I got to see it in IMAX and 3D when it came back to theaters last year, and it was amazing.
Yeah, me too.
Like, if you're gonna have action sequences, at least make them interesting. And the whole idea of the Mirror Realm battle was just fucking madness.
No, like, say what you will with Doctor Strange, but no one denies it. It's visually amazing.
Yeah. And seeing it in 3D was wild. And then, God, what was the other one that I really like? Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm actually a big fan of Thor 2. I don't give a shit about the villain. What I got in Thor 2 was something that I really wanted out of Thor 1 and didn't get, which was interactions between more than one, like, couple of characters at a time. Because in Thor 1, Thor pretty much interacted with Natalie Portman, and then Loki interacted with Odin. And that was it. Like, you didn't really get much more out of this big cast of characters. There was a lot of one-liners and just a lot of CG battles, and it was like, eh. And the giant robot battle at the end kind of was stupid. But when you get to Thor 2, you actually had a wide cast of characters, and they were getting vulnerable, and there were stakes, and you see Loki acting spiteful and then regretting it when he ends up getting his mom killed, and, like, spoilers for Thor 2. But like,
Hold on, guys. Talk about King Kong. Spoilers, guys.
Oh boy. But I feel like it did a really good job of just setting up these characters for more, which is part of why Thor 3 kind of, like, I have mixed feelings about, because all that setup went to waste. But out of the main trilogy, I will say that I do not like the Russo brothers movies. I did not like Captain America 1. It wasn't a Russo brothers movie, but it just doesn't interest me. Captain America 2 is the best of the Russo movies, but it still has a lot of the same problems that make their movies so unbearable. To me, Civil War, I just did not enjoy. And Infinity War, I had very strong negative feelings about. I feel like they know how to take characters that are provided with them and write lines that less skilled writers would write. I mean, they didn't write the movies, actually.
No, they didn't.
But they don't know how to direct those scenes. I feel like, given that script, they could direct those scenes in a way that would be good, but they don't. Like, they don't know how to get reactions and acting performances out of people that are really good, and that really shines through. And, like, all the jokes they try to make in those movies just feel really poorly timed, and they don't land for me, and I just really don't like the movies they make. But The Winter Soldier is the least bad out of those.
I strongly disagree, but I respect your opinion on the matter.
Yeah, it's God, Winter Soldier. I watched Winter Soldier for the first time before going to see Endgame, and I live commented on it on my Facebook. And it's like over 120 comments or something. But you just see my emotional roller coaster through the whole movie of just, well, I like this part. I like these characters. Oh, fuck this. This is pointless. What was that dialogue? Why doesn't anyone shoot Captain America's feet? Like, you know.
Let me write the last one is fair.
Yeah.
The last one is fair.
It's fucking lazy filmmaking. Also, I kind of enjoyed the dynamic between Black Widow and Cap. Like, It was an actual friendship. And what I find interesting is that it kind of made me feel better about Age of Ultron, because
I can see that.
everyone had issues with Black Widow's relationship with
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, focus pull. Everyone had issues with Black Widow's relationship with the Hulk because they were like, did we have to make her like his mommy figure or romantic or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, she's been through a lot and knows how to deal with heavy trauma. And looking at it now, none of Natasha Romanoff's... It's Romanoff, right?
Yeah.
None of Natasha Romanoff's relationships with the male characters is romantic. None of them.
No.
She just really cares about them and bonds with them deeply. And I appreciated the fact that none of them are romantic relationships.
Yeah.
But they still really care about each other. I think that's an important thing to have on screen.
I agree.
So I like that in Cap 2. I actually really enjoyed Iron Man 3. I really enjoyed it.
I really like Iron Man 3 too. I always feel like it gets a bad rep because of the stupid Mandarin thing, which always kind of annoyed me.
That's the one with the extremist armor, right?
Yeah, that's the one. I also thought it was pretty good.
Because the whole point of that is he's coming off of the first Avengers movie, and he's going through so much.
Yeah, he's got this anxiety attacks, and like his stuff isn't necessarily working right, and you get to see Iron Man like vulnerable. He starts off the movie being really fucked in the head, and he goes and taunts the terrorists with his ego on national TV, and then gets his ship blown up and almost dies and almost loses Penny, and at one point thinks he actually loses Penny. I knew that she didn't die, but that moment still made me go like, oh god.
Yeah.
Like you even if you know that it's not an actual death, you still get the feeling like, oh, that was affecting.
No, like, and Shane Black's a good director, and like honestly, the only reason
I love him.
And like the only reason it gets a bad rep as much as it does is because of the Mandarin twist, and that's because like Pepper,
right?
Yep. Penny Pepper picked a pepper.
Penny Potts.
But
I just think her hair is copper like a penny.
But no, like, and that's because again, like, I'm not always like, I get where they're coming from. That being said, it's like, yeah, but guys, the Mandarin's always been racist as fuck.
Let's get the lights.
Oh, yeah. Figure out how to do this.
Well, I mean, we can still put them on these.
Well, like, they're magnetic.
Oh yeah, you don't have the metal part.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just like put one under, like here.
I mean,
He looked like a dungeon master.
yeah. I mean, we can do that for you back there, as long as you don't lean forward too much.
That's fine. My whiteness will protect my light.
Yeah, you figure this out for yourself. I got a decent glow from this. So when it comes to that, I like that, and then Thor 2 I really enjoyed. So I tend to like, with the exception of the Captain America trilogy, I kind of like the ones that everyone seems to hate the most.
I noticed that.
Yeah. And it's because I don't go for the same, like, shows of, you know, crazy CG chaos on screen. Like, it has to be different and interesting, and it has to do something unexpected with the characters. This is the same reason that The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Well, I like them for a lot of reasons too, but that's one of them.
But I literally think it's the best one.
I don't know, that being said, I feel like some movies you and I disagree on that definitely rely a lot on CGI.
Sure, but it's also the fact that, like, it's the fact that these movies try to do something different. They subvert expectations.
And you did like Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending was just fun and stupid. I will absolutely go for that. Jupiter Ascending is fun in the same way that,
Okay.
Oh, you're good?
Well,
Okay.
what was that one?
Jupiter Ascending is fun in the same way that Speed Racer is.
Snort! Fly in, snort!
Wait, what?
You don't remember the elephant pilot in Jupiter Ascending?
No.
I remember him. He existed. Look it up.
I'll watch it again. I have it on Blu-ray.
Of course you
in
do.
3D.
Of course you do. Because there's this
3D
one random pilot. He only shoots him 2 scenes, and all he does is, like, I forget his name. Call him Snort.
Yeah.
Just goes like snort, and then he flies up.
This is rather off topic.
Yeah, I know.
This is what happens when we talk.
Yeah, no, that's why a lot of reviews like 3 hours long.
But yeah, so I as for Infinity War,
no. I know you hate it. We've had this discussion.
we have a whole video about it,
and we agreed we're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it to each other, but I'm just going to flat out say, I enjoyed the movie in the sense that it was well made. I still think the jokes fell flat. I still think some of the dialogue was really wooden and it didn't feel natural. It felt like characters were put in the same place so that they could just quip at each other instead of actually interact like the characters would.
I agree with that.
And I have very huge problems with how they approached Thanos in the movie, because he can be viewed as the protagonist. And there are people online, there are a lot of people online who love the movie because they go, Thanos is right. There is nothing in the movie to address the logical fallacies of what Thanos is proposing. It's just killing people is wrong, so we need to stop Thanos. But there's no addressing of the fact that Thanos' plan kind of doesn't really fix the problem. If you're the kind of person who thinks that getting rid of a bunch of people makes sense, then there's nothing in the movie to dissuade you from that. You can just watch the movie and be like, Thanos is my guy. And I have a big problem with that. I think it's grossly irresponsible. You're not responding.
No. I was actually gonna say, like, I was actually gonna give you a compliment and saying, like, okay, when you explain like that, I can see where you're coming from.
That is my whole problem with it.
All right, well, to be fair, I've deliberately avoided the subject.
Okay, but like that's my point.
I'm like I don't necessarily agree, but I see where you're coming from.
It's the main issue I have is not with the idea that people who can just take for granted that Thanos is wrong and the Avengers are good guys can watch it and just be like, oh, this makes sense. It's a plot that makes sense. It's the fact that if you consider it from the perspective of somebody who doesn't take that for granted, if you consider it from the perspective of somebody who would potentially think that just getting rid of a bunch of people is a good idea and a plausible solution to some problems, the movie does nothing to say that that is wrong or just logically incorrect.
I don't agree with that all the way, but I can see where you get that interpretation.
There are a lot of people online who have just popped up and just like in the years since. There are a lot of people.
I haven't seen any personally, and that's
because you have your curated stream because Google gives you what you want to see.
I go on Twitter all the time and I talk with comic book people. You want to talk about toxic crap?
But you liked Infinity War.
I also do a lot of you don't see the shit I see every fucking day on Twitter.
Sure. Look up some of the videos.
I feel like it's the same kind of people that would take Fight Club seriously, though.
I take Fight Club seriously in a different way.
It's more like, well, let me put it this way: like the ones who would look at that and not realize the movie's saying that Tyler Durden is the bad guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the big thing, though. But yeah, if you go on YouTube and just look up like Thanos was right, or Thanos did nothing wrong, which was a meme on Reddit for a while, there's a lot of fucking Nazi bullshit that straight up sees Thanos as their dude, and I just have a problem with that.
Yeah, so, that being said, though, I just
thought it was grossly irresponsible.
I get your point. And I don't think you're wrong. Let me put it that way.
Okay, cool. Well, fucking finally. All right, cool. Anyway,
all that being said, I'm just gonna make a time code.
Yeah, no, this will be part one. Is our take on the MCU?
I just wanted.
You wanted to say something?
I did want to respond to that. With that in mind, though, I actually did enjoy the fact that they kind of made Thanos the protagonist, but the fact that that's the response, I don't respect that at all.
Yeah, that's
I think it was a smart move from a creative standpoint to make to make him the main character. But I do agree. I will give you this. I will agree they could have done. I don't know if they had to say it overtly, but make the subtext stronger.
Yeah.
To make it more clear, and that I will fully give you.
But even I've seen some Nazi stuff.
I see a lot of Nazi shit, but a lot of it's been involved with Captain Marvel lately. So
that's more misogyny. But the big thing,
it all ties together.
Yeah, it does.
I follow the Comicsgate group a lot. If you know that shit,
it was funny. I was in a gaming group at one point, and they were talking about this is all rumors. You can't trust anonymous sources. I'm like, that's a Trump talking point. And he's like, remember Gamergate? And I'm like, yeah, but probably not the way that you do.
Yeah, Comicsgate's now a thing too. Don't look if you don't see that's the shit I've been following. So
anyway, without getting too political. I really appreciate the fact that they made because with a movie with so many characters, with the fact that you have a villain who is the central focus of it, having Thanos be the main character in a sense, they could have still done that while denouncing him more strongly. Mm-hmm. And on another side of things,
now,
shit, I had something.
Also, killing half of the universe doesn't solve anything like at all.
Not
Well,
re-
but
well, like,
that's why this movie was so important.
no, and that's what that's going to transition that to is the fact that this movie, if like the first movie didn't do for you, this movie unequivocally
Exactly.
denounces it in
And
every way.
That's part of why I was so happy about it.
And like even the part where someone tries to like find a silver lining, she goes like, if you try to find a silver lining, it's going to throw a sandwich in your face.
Yeah, right.
Like don't even fucking try.
The
Minor
God.
spoiler, I guess.
Sure.
Is it?
Right.
But as far as the way the movie is structured goes, I still think it's a very well made movie. I had a good time watching it. It was just that by the end, I was like, they're not gonna fucking do this. They're gonna let this happen in this way, and they're going to portray him in this way. This is irresponsible. This is fucking dangerous in this point in time. So, yeah. Anyway,
That's Infinity War.
that's all this.
Okay, so
Shall we?
with all that said,
Yes.
we all agreed Endgame was really goddamn good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as someone who had really strong negative reactions to Infinity War and really just doesn't respect the Russo brothers as filmmakers, especially because they fucking ruined Community.
I love the paintball episode of Community, all right?
Yes, and that was before they ruined it.
Well, what else did they do that ruined Community?
They made season 4. You remember the sharp dip in quality?
There was that I blame more on them firing Dan Harmon than I blame
Yes.
anyone else.
Yeah.
Dan Harmon and the Russo brothers made Community. When Dan Harmon left, all that was left was the Russo brothers. And every single problem with Community is why I hate the Russo brothers. You can see all of it just on display. And it's funny because I didn't see season 4 of Community until after I saw Infinity War. So, like, I was watching it and I'm like, oh my God,
man.
it's the same shit. It's the same problems. But, yeah, anyway, as someone who fucking hates their filmmaking...
I will give you credit. As far as, like, straight counterpoint goes, that was a good one.
I can't believe I didn't bring that up before. But as far as...
Oh, they ruined Community. Season 4. Fuck.
Yeah, right? So, as someone who fucking hates that shit, they landed it.
They did.
100%. Well, not 100%. Like,
There's a couple, like, little things you can
couple
point at.
little things. We'll get to that. But I had an absolute blast at this movie. I was enjoying myself from start to finish. I had my expectations subverted within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And immediately was like, well, what the fuck is gonna happen?
Yeah.
And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know
And
exactly
then,
what you're talking about with the vague thing.
Yeah, and then you go to the point where you get to the point where there's gonna be this big final climactic battle, and I looked at my phone and I was like, there's still 50 minutes left. Oh shit, they're gonna go all in on this, and they went all in, and it is
It's
a
amazing.
great fucking
It's
time.
amazing. Yeah. It is a earned payoff.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I literally cheered at a theater.
There was a part, and you
There are a
probably
few
know
moments.
which part it is.
There are a couple of them.
With the guy with the thing.
Yeah, there are a couple of them with the guy with the thing. We'll get into detail.
Okay.
Well, no, because there's a guy with a thing, and then the other guy has his thing, and then...
There's other things. Let's not get too specific about the
Okay,
things.
we'll talk about it in the
Okay.
spoiler section.
But
or the
it's-
spoiler video.
This is one of those movies where they did a really good job with the advertising campaign.
They did, yeah. Keep it like as obscure as possible.
Like I was really impressed with the fact that I didn't know what to expect going in, and I think that if I knew more about what to expect going in, it would have been less enjoyable.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because part of the surprise and having no idea what was coming was a big part of enjoying that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Howard, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that. I think there was some, like, CGI things that I was a little bothered with.
For a movie this big, though, it's gonna be like a couple of hinky
No,
things.
I mean, I mean, like, not all of it was all the time, but there was just, like,
too much reliance on it, you mean?
there was a little bit too much reliance on it, but then there was definitely, like, one of the big vague things.
We'll talk about it in spoilers.
One of the big vague things where I'm like, that looks awful.
I mean, like, for me that looks this good, like for 3 fucking hours. I think you're allowed like 1 or 2 things that don't look great.
Yeah.
But there was just a lot. There was just a lot of it.
Yeah, that's true. Like that's a complaint I've heard some people make. Dudes, it's very reliant on CGI. I mean, for a movie like for Universe this setup, I don't know how else you do it. Like the last year would be really hard to do practical. I mean, it'd be amazing if you could pull it off, but it'd be extremely hard to do.
I mean,
all we had to do was just invent portals.
They pulled off quite a bit in this movie.
They did. Like it is like, especially for like this movie had like all the money to work with, for as much money as they need.
Yeah, and finally, one of the big problems I've had with MCU movies is like you have Disney money behind you. Why can't you hire a real composer and an orchestra for 2 days? Like, that's part of my issue with the soundtracks, and that wasn't a problem in this movie.
No.
Yeah.
And like that kind of like I think a lot of the movie I liked Infinity War. I really liked Infinity War. Even I have to miss movie that makes time we look like dog shit. And like even misgivings and disagreements aside, and the fact that it's like there's so much more character and so much more like actual relationship building in this film.
That was
like that really sells a lot of it, and that's how you know it's like in John Wick 2 when I knew they took a long time to get to the second action. It's like, oh shit, that when we get next is gonna be insane, and that's kind of what this movie is. Like a lot of it is talking. A good chunk of the movie is talking, but they're good conversations.
Yeah,
they're paying off years of like these characters' relationships off each other. Nothing needs to be established. You already know who everyone is. You know what their relationship is with each other, and so when they actually talk about shit, or when they ever like stuff happens and they respond to it, it matters because we've been with them for this damn long. Especially like, I'm not giving it. This isn't spoilers. This is in the trailer. Like Hawkeye and Black Widow working together again.
God,
had some great scenes together.
They have such good chemistry.
Oh God, yeah.
The way that they like. I don't even want to spoil the details of this, but the way they open the movie with the first scene just sets this tone.
Yeah.
And it's. I did not expect, like, pretty much the first hour of this movie to be the characters all being very introspective.
Yeah, and I love that they went that angle.
Yeah, and it's the kind of substance that I feel like most of the Marvel movies really lack.
And I will agree with you on that.
Well, it's the first time that they've ever had to deal with tremendous failure.
Like we lost. We lost big time.
This is like worse than losing. Like this is like extra losing with a side of cheese.
I mean, it's like even like you take out like the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline where they fixed like the whole snap with by the time. That storyline was over. There wasn't like a time like, hey, what if we just let it sit there?
Yeah, no, there's
and that's not giving away. That's in the trailer.
There's a significant amount of time dedicated to the entire team just marinating in the fact that they
failed,
they lost,
just responding to what happened.
Yeah, and just processing it and dealing with that grief and trying to move on with their lives. And and it was interesting because I hadn't seen Iron Man 3 or Winter Soldier. Those were my last 2 Marvel movies that I hadn't seen. And I saw those right before I went to see Endgame. And both ended up being the perfect ones to see before that. Because in this movie as well,
you really...
I don't think... Clearly, Iron Man makes it back from space.
Well, yeah, like again,
let's take that as a given.
That's not a commercial.
And I mean, you see him walking in the suit with the rest of the Avengers.
I mean, that'd be a fucking twist. Yeah, Iron Man dies in the first scene.
Yeah, right. But then you've got like the fact that when he arrives, not only is he a broken ass man, he is traumatized.
Yeah.
He is fully traumatized by
what happened to Peter.
Yeah, Spider-Man just dusting in his arms and just facing the void of space and thinking he was going to die for weeks on end. Yeah. Like the way that he responds to the rest of the team, the way that they bring back up what happened in Civil War in a way that makes it significant in how it affects his relationship with Cap beyond how it's already been affected. It was really well done.
And also Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. just have such great chemistry with each other.
No, they're great actors.
And they scene they're together. It's like, this is amazing to watch. And especially that first scene that you're talking about when Robert Downey Jr. does come back.
And they have a conversation.
And they have a conversation again without giving anything away. It's a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a comic movie, it's like, give Robert Downey Jr. the shiny gold thing.
Yeah, right. So they did a really good job with that. And as they start to come up with a plan to try to figure this out, it's very interesting to see different characters be talked into it. And then eventually to the point where they ramp up to the second act of the movie, which is the actual adventure of trying to figure out how to make this work, which ramps up into the third act, which is just big final battle.
Yeah, when that's not giving anything away. Like, it's like you need to spoil the fact we're getting a giant fucking battle.
Oh no, it's a 3-act movie. Sure.
Fuck, dude, in 3 hours there's 3 acts?
Did you know that most 3-act things consist of getting a plan, doing the plan, and the ending?
Always deliver.
Oh yeah.
Holy fuck.
Especially in action films. But yeah, that's
I mean, I hope this isn't a spoiler, but Thanos is the bad guy.
Oh shit. I hope this isn't a spoiler, but they fight him in the end. Yeah, anyway. The opening of the movie is I feel like that's all we can really talk about in even vague detail.
Yeah, because again, you can kind of figure it out from the trailer.
Yeah, and they handled it better than I've seen them handle anything else. And I think a lot of that comes from every actor and actress knowing that this is their last shot at giving their characters their all. And so everybody just kind of brings it to the table.
Well, at least until we move on to Disney Plus.
Yeah, right. And yeah, no, they fucking nailed it. I had a great fucking time the whole time. I was entertained consistently for the whole 3 hours. The funny moments finally landed. Like, almost everything that was funny in the movie that was meant to be funny in the movie felt funny.
And I think a big part of that is because these are definitely, especially in the case of Infinity War, a lot of the cases where like characters meet each other for the first time, so you have those like quirky responses. But everyone that was in this movie already had some kind of history with each other most of the time. Yeah. There are a few times where they threw some weird pairs together without giving anything away.
Sure.
But for the most part, these characters had knew each other, who already had a history with each other, so their interactions feel much more personal and much more natural. And that's why all the scenes with those characters in them work so well together.
Yeah.
Or even like you see when some newcomers just bounce off so well because they're bouncing off people with history and all experience and all that stuff. And there's some twists of some characters that are so goddamn amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to talk about it. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I am Tom Holland now.
All right. So do we want to
wrap this up so we can talk about spoilers?
Okay.
I feel like we're being as vague as we can. We talk everything out we can.
I'm
without
literally saying the word vague.
Yeah, let's start with light spoilers, just so I can talk about
No, I'm talking about we're gonna end this video completely and just make this whole other video just for spoilers alone.
Cool.
Because we all know it's gonna be as long as this video, if not longer.
Okay.
So, all right, guys. So this is the non-spoiler review. We all recommend it. We all think it's a really good end to the MCU as it currently stands, and hopefully signals something better. I do think they have some of the stuff they definitely tease here, and there's one shot in particular someone else put it best for it. So like if people share Skiff Lawn enough times, we'll make this movie.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can say about Endgame without giving anything away is you must make a choice between dehydration or possibly missing X amount of minutes because your tiny bladder had to make you go to the bathroom. Make your choice.
Superman dies.
Fuck.